આ લોકો આવે છે. Start. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be with you all again. अच्छा ત્યાં જ Hello. You can hear? No. Okay. 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 Today's subject is Abhyas and Vairagya. Now, the normal translation just we'll take. Abhyas, the normal translation being to practice something, and Vairagya, not to get carried away by something, right? So, we will say there is a state of yoga which we all want to achieve. So, there is a state of yoga which we all want to achieve, and anything that takes us. So, if we say this is the state of yoga, anything that takes us towards the state of yoga, any practice, right? Now, these practices don't have to be physical practices, right? Most of the practices are psychological practices. Physical practices are just there to create a foundation for the psychological practices. So if there's a psychological practice of self-observation, then 3-step rhythmic breathing is a foundation on which self-observation becomes very easy. So most of the physical practices are not going to take you towards yoga. It is the psychological practices which will take you towards yoga. So anything that takes us towards yoga, we will call as Abhyas. Right? And anything that takes us away from the state of yoga, right? To avoid that, to pause that, not to get carried away by that, we will call as Vairagya. Now, this state of yoga, it is defined as Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So, we'll just take a very simple translation. We won't go into the deeper meanings of the words. Is that Chitta Vritti is that calming the mind, right? So, what is the state of yoga? calming the thinking instrument, calming the mind. Right? Calming the mind. Right? So the mind has thoughts, the mind has feelings, the mind has sensations, and the mind holds tension in the muscles. Right? So there is stress in the mind. Right? So these four things are what make up the mind: thinking, feeling, sensing, and moving. The muscle movement of the muscles, the stress in the muscles. These four things make up the mind. To be able to calm that, right? It brings about the state of yoga. And in the state of yoga, what happens? So he'll say, Yoga chitta vritti nirodha tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. The inner seer, the one who sees, right? He is in his own avastha. He is in his own avastha, the seer. So, when we calm the mind, two things are happening. The mind is free of content, right? It is free of thinking, feeling, sensing, moving. It is free of content. We have a peaceful mind. And in that calming of the mind, the seer who was identified with the activities of the mind, the seer who had no, what you call, standing of his own self, he comes into his own nature or swarupa. Swarupa. Right? So, in the calming, by calming the mind, when there is no content in the mind, the seer cannot identify with any thought, with any feeling, with any sensation. The seer is then free. He is looking at the mind itself. Tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. Right? So the drashta is in his own swarup. Now, if the drashta is not in his own swarup, where is the drashta? Where has he gone? Right? So he is identified with any thought, any feeling, any sensation, right? He gets identified, he loses his own avastha of the seer, he becomes that which he is identified. Vritti sarupyam. Sarupyam means to take the shape of any thought, any feeling, right? Any sensation. So the drashta is in two states. Either he is in his own avastha or he is identified with any what you call movement or activity of the mind. This is, I'm giving it to you very basic. We can go very deep into this, but then we have to go into each Sanskrit word, and right? So this is just, I'm giving you a very basic outline of what is yoga, where are we going, right? So we are going to a state of chitta vritti nirodha, right? For that we are practicing, and that practice is called as abhyas. Now in the next sutra, Patanjali says, tatra sthito, that state, there in that state. Which state? Where the drashta is in his own swarup, where there is a calming of the mind, there is chitta vritti nirodha. There are two things in that state, there, standing there, right? Tatra sthito, yatna, yatna એટલે prayatna, yatna એટલે effort. So the effort for calming the mind and the effort for holding the presence of the seer, holding the presence of, not allowing him to get identified, that is called as Vairagya. Tatra sthito yatna abhyas. Right? Now before that he says, this state of yoga can be brought about by Abhyas and Vairagya. Abhyasa Vairagya bhyam tan nirodh. A nirodhini sthiti, that state of calming the mind is brought about by Abhyas and Vairagya, by these two things. So these are the two wings of our journey. So if the seeker is a bird, these are the two wings which take him on his journey to reach his destination of yoga. Right? These are the two, Abhyas and Vairagya. Right? Now, what is Abhyas? In that state where the seer is separate and there is calming of the mind, right? So the practice to hold the calmness in the mind and the practice not allowing the seer to get identified again with the mind, that is Abhyas. That is Abhyas. Tatra sthito Yatra Abhyas, right? Vairagya. What is Vairagya? It is avoiding that which will, what do you call, take the seer back into a state of vritti sarupyam, where he gets identified with the activities of the mind. Can you understand? You say, so you get a phone call, oh, this has happened. You're identified with that phone call, what has happened, some message has come on the phone. The seer is not observing it from far away, right? He's identified with that. To pause over there and not allowing the seer to get identified, that is Vairagya. And to hold that pause for a longer period of time is Abhyasa, right? Now, in the next sutra, he will say, Satu dirgha kale nairantarye satkar asevitu drad bhuvi. This whole practice of Abhyas and Vairagya has to be done over a long period of time, Satu dirgha kale, over a long period of time, right? And it has to be done with an inner state of emotion. Inner state of emotion. What is that state? Satkar asevitu. Huh? Like a mother looks after the young child and does sevan of the young child, right? She feeds the young child, that sevan of the young child. This, as you're moving on this state of journey of yoga, right, that practice of Abhyas and Vairagya has to be done in the same state, right? It is not something intellectual. It is something which we value and do from the heart. It is something which we value and do from the heart. Now, this is a simple definition. Where are we going? We are going to the state of yoga, right? What happens in the state of yoga? The mind becomes calm and the seer is separate from the mind, observing the mind, right? The practices which lead to this state are Abhyas, and to avoid that which pulls us back from that state is Vairagya. In simple definition. So I thought I'll take different techniques of Abhyas and different techniques of Vairagya in the next few days. I don't know if this is clear to everyone. Anyone wants to ask anything, you can ask in between, don't worry. Right. Now it is not that you do one thing. It is not that you do one thing, right? So there must be a balancing act between Abhyas and Vairagya. There must be a balancing act. Supposing you are doing the refining exercise, right? So you are doing the refining exercise and you see that you are doing it in a state of tenseness. All the muscles are tense, right? So the practice of refining is Abhyas. To relax the tenseness is Vairagya. Get it? Or you're doing the refining exercises but you're getting thoughts of what happened in your business yesterday, right? So again, the practice of refining is Abhyas, right? And to pause those thoughts, not get carried away by those thoughts, vritti sarupyam, right? Not to allow that to happen is Vairagya, right? So this will keep as a simple definition. So yoga chitta vritti nirodh, our aim is to reach that state of nirodh. That is our aim in life, and that is why we are doing all these practices and everything, to reach that state of nirodh. Now, let us just go into the words. It could be a little interesting. The word abhyas. Abhi means to go towards something, right? In the Mahabharata, we have a character, Abhimanyu, right? Right? So, abhi to go towards something. Koina taraf jau. And manyu એટલે valor. Valor એટલે, what do you call in Gujarati? The spirit of fighting. The spirit of fighting, right? So, now abhi, yas. As means to sit down also, and as means to throw also, to throw at a target, right? So When you have a target, your attention is on the target. Your attention is on the target. What is our target? Yoga. What is our target? Nirodha. Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So our attention is on Chitta Vritti Nirodha. That is our target. And Abhi, us, sitting. Now sitting gives a certain sentiment, us to sit, towards sitting. Sitting means that you have to practice something every day. And that practicing every day is the same thing every day. It is the same repetition every day, right? But it is not a repetition because it is taking you on your journey towards your target, towards your aim. So that practice which you are doing every day, which we are doing every day, that is us, abhyas, abhyasa, to both towards the target. So it implies something that we are doing some repeated practices every day, repeated action every day, right? So at a physical level, we can say we are doing the refining exercises, we are doing the 3-step rhythmic breathing, and at a psychological level, we are pausing whenever there is a reaction, whenever there is a reaction. Now, wherever there is repetition, there is a sense of continuity. Sense of continuity. So, within the word abhyas is a sense of continuity. You cannot say, I will do it today and not do it for 5 days. Then there is no sense of continuity. It is something which we have to practice every day. And then there comes a stage where every moment we are practicing it. Every moment we are practicing. Now, Vairagya is normally translated as non-attachment, right? It has the prefix upsarga, V. V means to be away from. Be away from what? Raga. Be away from raga. Coloring, attachment, passion, right? In our normal journey, the first thing which we have to be away from is reacting. So the first thing is be away from reaction. Be away from reaction. Now try to understand this, that animals, plants, they are pre-programmed to react to external stimuli. This is, nature has pre-programmed them to react to external stimuli, right? So, if his kill is in front of him, a lion has to go to the kill, right? He can't say today I'm going to fast or something, right? He has to go towards his kill, and right? So they are pre-programmed in that way, and so their attention is always moving out. An animal cannot take his attention inside. A plant cannot take the attention inside. The attention is always moving out. Water is here, sunlight is here, nutrients are here, right? So in a plant and an animal, attention is always moving out, right? As long as attention is moving out, we live in a state of reaction. That is always responding to something happening outside in life. Life is composed of events, and we are always reacting to events, right? And as long as we are reacting to events, right, we are in a state of vritti sarupyam itaratra. Vritti sarupyam itaratra. That is, the inner seer, the inner drashta is identified with his vrittis. And what is causing the identification? Right? The reaction. The reaction. So the first step in any abhyas is to pause the reaction. To pause the reaction. Now, now when we pause the reaction, We are not allowing the seer to get identified. And this is a free will given to man, that he can pause the reaction. Now try to understand this, that man is made of two things. One is his body-brain system, and one is the divine part of man. The body-brain system has come through evolution, right? So all the cells of our body, our brain, they have come through evolution. So all these cells which we have, right, for thousands of years they have been what you call habituated to react to external stimuli, to react. So when we become a human being, there is one part of us which is divine, and there is one part which is the body-brain system. They meet as a human being, right? But because all the cells have come from the animal world, all the cells have come from the plant world, for thousands and thousands of years, they've been habituated to react, right? And as long as man reacts, right, he has not risen from the animal stage. He's still living in the animal stage. Now, human beings, they live in two dimensions of time at the same time, right? In two dimensions of time, right? Now, one dimension of time is our line from birth to death, right? So we have a line from birth to death. Line from birth to death. And what is this line made up of? What is this line made up of? What is this line made up of? Huh? Events or small dots which we will call as present moments. Small dots which are called as present moments. Right. Now, each of these present moments, right, is cut by another dimension of time, right, which we can call as vertical time. On our journey, we are moving on horizontal time, right. Now, this is another dimension of time, the vertical dimension of time. Is this clear to everyone, right? Okay. Now, where is the doorway to this time? Where is the doorway to this time? Where is the...
Birth and death?
No, this is the line, birth to death. This line is made of small dots called present moments. Present moments, right? Now, each present moment is cut by another dimension of time. Each present moment is cut by another dimension of time. And our spiritual journey is not in this time. Our spiritual journey is not in this time. I'll explain a little later, right? Our spiritual journey is in which time? This time, vertical time, right? So, what is the entry to this vertical time? Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. What is the entry to this vertical time?
Now, in the present moment.
Present moment. This present moment is the doorway to this higher time. This present moment is the door. How do we come to the present moment? How do we come to the present moment?
By being aware.
Huh?
Vairagya.
Pause.
By being aware.
No, what was the first thing we took?
Abhyasa.
If the mind is calm, only then we can come to the present moment. If the mind is thinking, all thoughts are composed of memory. You can never be in the present moment. Thought and present moment cannot go together. Can you understand? I cannot think I want to be in the present moment. Then I'm never in the present moment. Right? Can you? It is a sensitivity. It is not a thought. There is a sensitivity of the present moment. So, the doorway to a higher consciousness, which is our aim, a higher consciousness, is the present moment. So, when their mind is calm, the drashta is suddenly observing this line of time. The drashta has separated and is observing this line of time. But Patanjali uses the word swarupe, drashta swarupe avasthanam. It is in an avastha. As we practice this, calming the mind and holding the drashta, two things when we practice, the drashta rises into different avasthas. The drashta rises into different, that is, we are climbing the ladder of consciousness. We are climbing the ladder of, and in the last sutra he says, Swarupe Pratishtha. Right? In the last, Swarupe Pratishtha Kevalyam. Right? He says in the last sutra. Right? So, the whole Yoga Sutra journey is on two planes. Chitta Vritti Nirodha, right? And Swarupe Drashta, Swarupe Avastha to Swarupe Pratishtha. Swarupe Avastha to Swarupe is clear. This is very this simple this is. Now, what do we have to do? What do we have to do? Right? First of all, we have to come to the present moment. Please understand, in this line of time, you change anything, it has no effect in rising in consciousness. I may say I am living in the city, I don't want to live in the city, I want to meditate, I'll go somewhere in the jungle and I'll sit, so I'll build a hut against near a river and I'll practice meditation. It doesn't work over there. The chitta in the city and the chitta in the jungle is the same chitta, right? I may say, okay, I'm wearing these clothes, let me wear orange clothes or white clothes or whatever clothes, right? Anything I change in this line of time cannot help me rise. This is every moment, moment to moment, right? So, in this moment, I may talk with you aggressively, hey, what are you doing? How are you doing this? Or I might talk with you with a little consciousness, with love, right? So, in that, I am rising in this vertical line of time. If I'm talking with you aggressively, I'm in the lower. We can take this as a building. We can take this as a building, right? So, I have a free will. Man has free will. Animals don't have free will. Plants don't have free will. Only man has free will, right? And what is that free will? Only for one thing. Which floor of his building he wants to live in. Which floor of the building he wants to live in. Can you understand? So, if I just say, hey, take this, then I'm talking from a lower story of my building. But if I say, do you mind taking this? Then I'm talking from a higher story of my building. So, each moment in life, where am I, what you call, responding to life from? In the present moment, am I rising in the present moment or am I falling in the present moment? If I'm falling, what is causing me to fall? My aggressiveness to him is causing me to fall, right? You understand? My ego is causing me to fall. I think I'm a little better than him, so I can talk to him in any way. That ego is causing me to fall. To pause that and to not get identified with that is Vairagya, and practicing going higher is Abhyasa. Again, right? So each moment, it is, so the Dhyatma is not something which you do in the morning in your prayers or in your practices or anything. It is every moment of our lives. Every moment we are in this dot called the present moment. Do we rise or do we fall? And there is no middle path. Either we rise or either we fall. Either we fall. Okay. So, is this clear? Now I want to repeat something which I've talked about many times, but I'm going to talk again. Now, what are the floors in this building? This building of consciousness. This building of consciousness. What are the floors in this building? So, we will take what the Shastras say. All the Shastras talk about the same thing. The 4 states of consciousness. 4 states of, right? So, the lowest state of consciousness is Nidra. Sleep. Sleep, right? We spend 1/3 of our lives sleeping, so I won't go into this state, right? But there are techniques where you can go into deep nidra and bring awakeness in that nidra, right? But we won't talk about that this time. Anyway, the second state of sleep is swapna. Swapna. Now, what is the quality of swapna? What is the quality of swapna? What is the basic quality of swapna?
Daydreaming.
Huh?
It must be in the sleep dream.
Okay.
Daydreaming.
Thank you. Huh?
Daydreaming.
No. When I'm in a dream at night, supposing I'm in a dream at night,
Swapna.
swapna, what is the basic quality?
Body is sleeping, mind is somewhat active.
I think what I'm seeing is real. It is just a creation of the mind. You understand what I'm trying to say? I think what I am seeing is real. Why do I think what I'm seeing is real? Why do I think what I'm seeing is real?
Because that's what you want to live.
What has happened? What has been hypnotized by that scene in the dream?
Desire not being fulfilled.
What has been hypnotized by, what of mind has been hypnotized by that, what do you call, dream? The scenery in the dream. Huh?
Awareness? Mind's awareness?
Very close. Attention. My attention. Right? My attention has been hypnotized by that scene in the dream, and that is why I think the dream is real when I'm in the dream. Right? Okay, so now we are going to divide this, what do you call, swapna into 2 parts. We're going to divide this into 2 parts. So one is the swapna in the night, and one is the event in the day. Ghatna, the event in the day. What is happening?
Daydreaming.
Huh?
Daydreaming.
No, we have not yet come to daydreaming. Daydreaming is a part of this.
Acha.
Huh. What has happened?
The manifesting the
Again we go back. See, at night I'm dreaming, and in the dream I think it is real, right? Now, in my day is composed of events, one after the other. What is happening in those events?
It's similar actually.
The same thing is happening. My attention is being, what do you call, seduced by the events. Can you see? My attention has been hypnotized by the events in life. Am I coming across in this? Where there is attachment, there is more seduction, and where there is not much of attachment, there is less seduction. But there is every moment from morning to evening, I am attached to some event in life, right? So, which state am I living in? Am I living in a higher state or am I living in this state of swapna?
Yeah, almost swapna.
So I'm living in this state of swapna. Is it clear? People are born and they die in a dream. They don't realize it is a dream. They don't realize it is a dream. There's no one to tell them it is a dream. Can you understand? Right? So just as in the night, I thought that was real, what was happening in the dream. In the day, the event comes, I think this is real and I'm totally involved, immersed in that. And that's the end of the matter, the story of my life. Right? Nothing has changed. Now, again we'll go back, it's a repetition, so you can tell me what was the characteristic of this? What was the characteristic?
In the building of consciousness, we are same in both scenarios.
Yeah.
Whether it is
Yeah.
Nidra or whether it is Katna in real.
Yeah, but what was the characteristic we talked about? About our attention. Right? So in the dream, the attention is seduced. Right? Apharan થઈ ગયું છે attention no. Right? In the day also, attention is seduced. Apharan થઈ ગયું છે. Right? Of course, when you talk about the building, there will be many floors of this swapna. Some places you will be more attached, some places, but still, as long as attention is being what you call kidnapped, attention is being we are all living in this state of swapna. We have not, and that is why many people call it a psychological sleep. Psychological sleep. Right? Now, the third state is what we call as Jagruti. Right? Jagruti, or the state of self-consciousness. Now, what is different from this state to this state? What is?
Attention is not kidnapped in that Jagruti.
Yeah, but we'll say Jagruti has many levels. Say there are 7 floors of Jagruti. So we are talking from the lowest level.
Awareness comes slow, kind of.
No.
That the attention is seduced here.
Yes. So I know that my attention is being seduced and I'll start working on something to pause that attention. Right. But this, till then we have not yet come into this state. What is the definition of this state? No, the third state. Jagruti, but Jagruti is not the right word. That is why I put the English word over there. Self-consciousness. What does it mean? What does it mean?
That something different or something beyond the events.
The events are the same.
No, I know.
The events are, nothing has changed. I don't want to change my life.
So drashta is there, or the someone is
Attention is coming to that.
What is happening? I'm taking attention
from outside.
outside to inside. You see, the event is
Outside.
The event is outside, right? I'm drinking my coffee outside, right? But I take a little attention inside and I feel myself drinking the coffee. What is that? The beginning of self-consciousness. Now it is not just drinking the coffee, it is I am feeling myself drinking the coffee. Right? So there is a feeling of self. So wherever, now for that feeling of self, I have to take attention inside. I have to take attention inside. Tada drashtu swarupe avasthana. That feeling of self, the sensitivity, slight sensitivity of self that I am drinking this coffee, right? And so now two things are happening at this time, right? I am drinking coffee and I am having a feeling of my self, right? Previously I was drinking coffee, so there was only the feeling of coffee. And if I was daydreaming while drinking the coffee, there was no feeling of coffee. Now let us go back to this.
So, so the self-consciousness, right? So the self-consciousness you said, and when the self-consciousness comes, the attention from event comes to the self, right?
The attention is on the event and on the
Self
self
both
at the same time.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
So that happens after the Atma Anubhav happens, or can we just do it as a part of Abhyas? Because you are saying it's like so simple that the coffee is being drunk and I'm drinking the coffee. I think when you have experienced self, then only it's possible, because the continuous awareness of the self is there, and that is such a powerful experience that experience is never going to go away of the self. And then any event you go through, that event becomes like secondary, and the connection with the self is so powerful that you feel that both the things are happening. But that happens after the self realization, or a person like us can make
No,
it.
I'm talking of a person like you and me.
Not you, not you.
You and me. Yeah.
It's the lowest level of consciousness.
We are trying to, this state is pulling us down and we are trying to move into a higher state. So one step is pulling me down and I'm trying to climb one step.
How should we practice?
How do we do it?
I'm coming to that. We are coming to. We are coming to that slowly.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
And I'll also talk about what you are talking about.
Okay.
But that rarely happens.
Oh, really?
It rarely happens. It happens, and there have been cases where in my life where I've seen it happening, but it rarely happens. It rarely happens. I'll tell you why later on, right? But we just go through this. Now, what is the state of attention in this nidra? Zero. Zero attention, right? And when I'm in daydreaming also, I'm in which state of attention?
It's also kidnapped.
Yeah, zero attention, right? Not yet kidnapped. There is no attention. There is no attention, right? So the daydreaming has kidnapped my attention, what you're saying, but there is no attention. I may be daydreaming and driving a car also. So I'm driving the car mechanically, right? Only when something comes in the way does I come back to the present moment. Right? Then what is the state of attention in this? In swapna. We'll have to.
That is also zero, right?
No, the attention is attracted by something. The attention is attracted by something. The event could be positive or negative, right? If there is rag, the attention is attracted. If there is dvesh, the attention is repulsed. Can you get it? But in both cases, it is the same thing. The attention is attracted by that event. The attention is attracted by. In rag, it gets attached to it, right? In dvesh, it doesn't get detached. It gets attached to the hate of it, to the dislike of it, right? So even in that, there is no detachment in that. So In this state there is attracted attention, and in a higher state of swapna, when we are borderlining between swapna and self-consciousness, what will be the state of attention? What will be the state of attention?
We won't get carried away.
Yeah, what does it mean? We will apply our attention. There will be a state of directed attention. When you study for an exam, what kind of attention do you use? Directed attention. When you study for an exam. So there are three states of attention: zero attention, attracted attention, right? And directed attention. And these come from Nindra to Swapna. But when you are in directed attention, you are on the borderline between Swapna and Jagruti. Whenever you are using directed attention, that is, your attention is not automatically attracted by anything. Is clear to everyone? Now what happens in Jagruti? What happens in Jagruti? What happens in Jagruti? Divided attention. But how do we divide attention? How do we divide attention? Because our journey starts from the present moment. Our journey starts from the present moment. Now, in the present moment, if I remember to divide attention, then thought has already come in. I'm not in the present moment. Right? So, what Gurdjieff is saying, there is a big, what you call, why over here. Because he says, remember to divide your attention. But you cannot, if you remember to divide your attention, you're out of the present moment. You can't do anything about it. You see? So how do you divide your attention in the present? Remain in the present moment and divide your attention. So theoretically Gurdjieff is right, divide your attention. But practically he is not right, because the minute he says you have to remember to divide your attention. The minute you remember to divide your attention, you are out of the present moment. Finish. That's the end of the journey.
Three-step rhythmic breathing.
Right. Why three-step rhythmic breathing? What are we doing in three-step rhythmic breathing?
So we are
10% in yourself and 90%, just for example, some person.
We are dividing, forget the 10% and 90%. You're right in that, absolutely right. But so we just say that we are dividing attention automatically. We are making a habit, not a mechanical habit, a conscious habit of dividing attention. Yeah, a conscious habit of dividing attention.
So, just to be on the right track, so practicing three-step breathing is the main goal while doing the things. So that's what you are saying.
Practicing three-step rhythmic breathing is the foundation.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
So your attention has to
It does two things. It divides the attention and it calms the
mind.
It brings you to the present moment, and it brings you to the present moment with divided attention. Then once you're in the present moment, you don't have to remember that I have to divide attention. You're automatically there. One arrow of attention on self, one arrow of attention drinking coffee. It becomes sahaj, what do you call?
But that
Spontaneous.
when we do that, three-step rhythmic breathing, right? So you are saying that one arrow is
On the breathing and one on the music. One on breathing and
So music is not the self, right?
doesn't matter. You're making a habit of dividing attention.
You are learning to divide the attention.
You're making a habit of it, not learning.
Okay.
You're making a habit. And it is a conscious habit, which we call as sahaj,
Yeah.
spontaneous, not a mechanical habit. So the minute you're in the present moment, there'll be a spontaneous division of attention. There'll be a spontaneous division of attention.
Yeah. So we have not reached to the giving attention to self yet. It is just dividing the attention in the moment.
Right.
But we have not divided and taken one to the self yet.
Okay. Now let's talk about it in another way. When are we in the present moment? When are we in the present moment? When are we in the... What is the characteristic of coming into the present moment.
Some kind of shock.
Huh?
Some kind of shock or
Shock, yeah. Shock is a negative way. Of course, shock is very true.
You're bringing
And
your attention.
huh?
You're bringing your attention.
Realization of something happened. Like,
No. Supposing you're listening to music. You're listening to music. And you're listening to the music, but in that listening to the music, at points, the mind will dissolve. Chitta nu lay thase. Right? Chitta vritti nirodha. Right? And you will, if you go for a music program, people experience that. And when they experience that, they can't hold themselves, they react. Because the minute you react, you lose the present moment. So if you go to a music, they'll come to the, wow. They'll say something like, wow, it's so nice. Right? And now, of course, it's become this thing that the person who's playing the sitar and the person who's doing wah, he'll also do salam, thank you, and he'll go ahead. And he's looking for more people to come into the present moment. Right? Now, in that small present moment where you're there, how can you remember to divide your attention? It has to come spontaneously. It has to come spontaneously. So 3-step rhythmic breathing creates that habit. Then suddenly you're listening to music, for a second you're in the present moment and your attention is divided. Now you can pause there and hold it for a longer period of time. Music is just one way. You may be watching a sunset.
Can you explain it one more time? Listening to music.
Yeah.
And something touched me. Or I mean,
See, let's do it in another way. Some things I'll say in Gujarati, right? વર્તમાન ભાવ છે, વર્તમાન ક્ષણ નથી. Right? So something touched me where? Here. So in that moment I said, wow. Why did I say wow? Because I came in the present moment. Can you understand? The music brought me to the present. Throughout that 1 hour of listening to music, there'll be about 5 times when I may come or 3 times when I come to the present moment. Now you're understanding? Now, in that present moment, if I try to, repeat what Ospinski or Gurdjieff says, I have to divide my attention, the gone, the present moment is the right. So it is not possible that, what they are saying. Okay? In that present moment, when I've reached there, the attention must divide sahaj. Can you understand? Right? And if the attention divides sahaj, then in that present moment, I'm listening to the music and I'm feeling the self. The mind is calm. Drashta swarupe avasthanam chitta vritti nirodha.
but we are so involved in the music and enjoying it so much that self-taraf.
But that is why you have to practice 3-step rhythmic breathing. Zavadiyaji says, make it a 24-hour practice. Why is he saying a 24-hour practice?
when you are in that moment and your attention is divided, can you elongate it?
Huh?
Can you elongate that part?
That is what we are talking about. That is Satu Dirgha Kale. Dirgha Kale don't take in horizontal time. Take also Dirgha Kale in vertical time. Can you hold that? Can you extend it for a longer period of time? Can you get it? But for that you have to be present in the, your presence must be there in the present. Presence is, what is there? Your drashta. The presence is the drashta.
Right now, if I'm thinking, I watch some music shows like that, and certain, kids, the way they sing and they just, steal your heart. And in a moment, I will say, oh my God, right? But that time, if I just cannot go to the self. I'm so involved in that, in the singing.
But as you practice rhythmic breathing, these moments will start happening.
I do, but okay.
Okay, now let's talk another present moment, because she said something. Right? Let's talk about another present moment. This is music we talked about. She said something.
shock.
So where is the shock? Where is the shock?
If you hear some bad news,
Shock,
shock.
right? Or you may even hear some very good news,
Very good news.
right? Shock. And where else? Where else? What do we do in life to invite shocks?
React.
What do we do in life? Which event of life
You get
do,
involved in that.
to invite more shocks in our
You get
life?
involved in that.
I think shocks are coming in life for our growth only, right?
Exactly, but what do we do in life to invite more shocks?
Attachment.
Huh?
Attached.
Desire to
We get
attach.
married.
That has only half.
You tell me one relationship where
Nitin could not come up with that answer, so that must not be between us. Just kidding, just kidding.
just day before yesterday I'm talking to someone and she's talking to me. Rajan, what do I do? Same age, good friends since childhood, right? What do I do? My husband is not the same husband whom I got married to. Right?
It took so long for her to change every day, so now this is a different person.
What was your reply?
Huh?
What was your reply?
No, my reply was that you practice something which keeps you peaceful and calm. Because people who are not interested in spirituality, you cannot, right? You cannot talk to them about all this. It's not possible. You cannot talk to them about all this. So you have to just give them something to be calm about, right? So in a marriage, from morning to evening, there are shocks. Morning to evening, there are shocks.
And ongoingly.
Huh?
Ongoingly.
Ongoing. And all those shocks are to awaken the soul and to hurt the ego. Huh? To hurt the ego. Right? If the ego gets hurt and the ego dissolves a little, that poor old soul will wake up a little. Right? The shock will wake him up. Can you understand? Right? What happens in a shock? What happens in a shock? We come to the present moment. We come to the present moment. Now, in that present moment, we cannot remember to divide our attention. But if we have been practicing three-step rhythmic breathing, in that present moment, there will be a sudden division of attention. Now, try to understand this. Very, very important over here. You hurt me, right? You call me all kinds of names or whatever you want to call me, and I feel hurt. Who is feeling hurt?
Ego.
The ego is feeling hurt, right? The ego is feeling hurt. Who is suffering? The soul is suffering. The ego never suffers, right? Right? અહમ દુઃખી નથી થતું, જીવ દુઃખી થાય છે, રાઈટ? એટલે હું કહું કે મારો જીવ બળે છે ઇન ગુજરાતી, રાઈટ? આઈ ડોન્ટ સે અહમ બળે છે, રાઈટ? આઈ સે માય, રાઈટ? એટલે ઇટ્સ લાઈક ધીસ કે શું કહેવાય ઇન લાઈફ કે ધ ગેમ્બલિંગ ઇઝ ડન બાય ધ અહમ, રાઈટ? એન્ડ ધ પેમેન્ટ ઇઝ ડન બાય ધ સોલ. સમજાય છે, રાઈટ? એન્ડ ધીસ ઇઝ અ સ્ટોરી ઓફ આર લાઈફ. Right? So the aham feels hurt. The aham feels hurt. Now, in that moment, if there is a division of attention, if there is a division of, and one attention on sensitivity of self, the sensitivity of self is so powerful, I cannot react with her. How can I react? Because that sensitivity of self is so overpowering. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? Right? But I'm not getting that sensitivity of self because my attention is totally kidnapped by her insulting me. It's totally there.
So you are saying that if you feel the hurt, the soul feels the hurt.
The soul does not feel the hurt.
Ego.
No.
The ego feels the hurt.
The suffering.
The suffering.
The suffering would be so much that it cannot do any reaction, it cannot give any reaction.
Why does it suffer? Why does it suffer?
He wants to free.
Huh?
He wants to free.
It wants freedom. It wants freedom. The ego does not want freedom. The ego wants to put her in her place. How can she insult me? Right? You understand? This is one situation. She has insulted me. Ego has felt hurt. Soul is suffering because soul is saying, why are you bothered with all this? Rise above all this. Right? Reach a state where you are not hurt. For that you have to dissolve the ego. But the ego says, no, I have got to show her. Then don't you know who I am? And next time you do this to me, I am not going to, allow it or whatever. Right? And that is what we follow throughout our life. Can you understand what I mean? Oh, now that is one moment where I was in the present moment. The pain was there, the suffering was there, right? And if I can transform that pain and suffering into tapa. What is tapa? Try to understand in this. What is tapa? Tapa is using the suffering to move from this state to this state. If the suffering does not bring me from this state to this state, then I have wasted the suffering. Right? Then the shock has not worked. Right? I'll wait for the next shock.
It's an opportunity.
Can you understand? Which is the best example of shock we have? Which is the best example of shock? I repeat it so many times. I'm going to repeat it just to make things a little more clear. Which is the best example of shock? So many times I've repeated it. I don't have a better example, that's why. Tulsidas. Tulsidas. Right? Tulsidas was away from his home, and his wife's brother came and took Tulsidas's wife to her father's house. Right? And Tulsidas, when he came back home, he was so attached to his wife. There was so much of inner craving for his wife that he could not live without her. So he started walking to his father-in-law's house. Right? And then a storm came in the way. So he walked through the storm, and then he had to cross a river, and the river was in flood. So he used a dead body as a boat and he crossed the river. Oh, this is just all what upma, what we call, right? And then he reached his wife's house, and she was on the first floor, so he climbed up using a snake, right? And he went to the first floor, and the wife said that so much of passion you have for me, if you have it for Ram, huh? And in that moment, that arrow of the shock went through all the layers and it awakened the soul inside. And he said, right, you are absolutely right. There was no argument. Can you see, in our case, I walked through the storm and this is what you are telling me, and I climbed up a snake and this is what a snake could have bitten me. You're not bothered about, I would have died, right? Normal circumstances. There was no justification. The shock went through and he woke up. But we cannot bear such big shocks, right? So we get married and we have small shocks, right? And marriage brings shocks. So many times it brings you to the present moment. And in that present moment, if there is no present moment, there is feeling of the ego. In the present moment, the ego is not there. He cannot come in the present moment. Right? That's one place where he is not allowed. Right? So once you're in the present moment, there's no this thing, and the attention divides. There's feeling of self. There is feeling of I am. Right? And that feeling of I am is so powerful. What does somebody's insult? It has no meaning at all. It has absolutely no meaning over there at all. Right? But we must be able to come to that state and divide our attention. So what is the characteristic of this Jagruti, this state of Jagruti? That one arrow of attention is outside and one arrow of attention on self. Now this is not needed by life. Right? To drink my coffee, I don't have to drink it with consciousness. I can still drink my coffee and enjoy my coffee. Right? So you may be working in an office, you may be doing your job somewhere, you may be having your own business, you may have a shop, whatever work you're doing in life, you don't have to take sensitivity of self. right? But you continue doing the same work, and at the same time, in those present moments, you try to have sensitivity of self. As you expand the present moments, you rise on the ladder of self-consciousness. You're conscious of self, and this is not demanded by life. You can live your whole life without it. It is not demanded by life. This is something extra. The cause of this is not in life, it is beyond life. The cause of this is beyond life. Anything which the cause lies in life is in horizontal time. Can you understand? Second thing, this is a luxury. There is no reward or punishment over here. Anything I do for reward or punishment is again in horizontal time. Right? This is something which I am doing not for reward or punishment. It is my aim of freedom. That is why I am doing it. Right? Okay. So, three kinds of effort we will do. One is calming the mind. Second is to come into the present moment and hold the presence. That is, hold our presence over there, the drashta. And the third thing is, can we elongate it? Satu dirgha kale. Can we extend the time? Can we stretch the time a little longer? Like we eat a chocolate, but we eat it slowly, so we stretch the taste of the chocolate. Same way, that feeling of self, can we stretch it for a little time? And this is our practice. Everything else which we do is net practice for this. Everything else is net practice for this. Where are we on time? Oh, okay. Now I'm going to answer your other question. The other question. Now there's a fourth state of consciousness. Fourth state of consciousness, which is called as Turiya. Turiya means the fourth. Turiya means the fourth. Right? So we go. Now, what is Turiya? What is Turiya? The fourth state, objective consciousness. This is self-consciousness is subjective consciousness. I am feeling myself. I am feeling myself. What happens in the state of Turiya, the last state of consciousness?
There is no separation.
Very good. So, what does it mean?
I think I dissolve just endless remains like
Just the amness. See, let's take a story, right? God wanted to create the world. So, first there was what you call divine wholeness. Everything was divine wholeness. Paramatma, everything in that. Now, for the game of life to happen, right? He and I must be separate. Can you understand? Right? Now, in that wholeness, if he and I are one, we cannot play the game of life. Right? I cannot call him names, he cannot call me names, etc. There's no game of drama cannot happen in that this thing. Right? I mean, it is like you're getting married to yourself only. Of course, in the Hindu, this thing they say, it is called Swayambhu. Right? Okay. But so he created something called avidya. Something called avidya. It's a prapanch. It's right. So in that avidya, everything suddenly which was part of one whole, it became separate. Your money is your money and my money is my money. Right? But if you and I are one, and if you take away my money, then whose money have you taken away? Can you understand? Then the game cannot work. There can be no game of life. And the drama had to happen. So the first thing which God created was avidya. Avidya means absence of awareness. Absence of awareness that you and I are one. Right? Then the game started. Of course, the other seeds of karma we'll go into later, rag, dvesha, abhinivesh, all that, right? So, asmita, rag, dvesha, abhinivesh, right? Now, when there is avidya, when you and I are not one, there is asmita. I am, you are, right? Each one is separate, right? And now the game starts. Now the game starts. Now I've gone through this whole journey of, say, there are 7 steps in self-consciousness. So we started with little bit of what you call sensitivity of I, but we'll go into that. There are higher states and we reach to a higher. And then we go into what state called? What happens in Turiya? Suddenly you and I become one again. There's nothing separate over there. Everything is part of that one wholeness. Again, we will see there are different steps in Turiya. We won't take it happening immediately. Okay? So in Turiya, that this is the experience of wholeness, experience of that totality, right? And that is an isolated totality. That is why in Yoga Sutra it is called as Kaivalya. Kaivalya, right? It is an isolated totality, right? Because it is the only thing there is. And that is why it is called as Kaivalya. There is the only thing which there is. So everything is in that, right? Even the good man is in that, the bad man is in that, etc. But again, when we play the game of life, we have to come back to the state of self-conscious, which is self-consciousness, which Turiya ji shows in his diagrams. From C, you have to come back to B. Okay. Now, we have gone through this whole journey of self-consciousness using 2 things, Abhyas and Vairagya. That means all the impurities we have done Shuddhikaran, purification, right? Impurities, all that was pulling me back to a lower state of consciousness, my anger, my jealousy, my this, whatever. Can you understand what I'm? Everything that was pulling me down, we have done Shuddhikaran and been free of that. Am I coming across in this? In this journey of self-consciousness. So we have purified the emotional center. So in that journey of Vairagya, purification is understood. Purification is understood. Now it is not that I will not get angry on him. I cannot get angry on him because there is no anger left. It has been transformed, that anger. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because I have gone through this whole journey of self-consciousness. It's a long journey of self-consciousness. This is clear to everyone. But in India, and there are certain techniques which very rarely the guru uses, but people who get to know of these techniques, they use these techniques and they can move from avoiding this whole journey. Can you understand? They have moved directly from Swapna to Turiya. And they've avoided the whole painful journey of what you call self-consciousness, where you have to, avoid everything that is pulling you down. You purify that, you rise slowly. They have avoided, and there are many techniques, right? Especially in India, these techniques were developed, very high yoga techniques. Now what happens? Now what happens?
They cannot digest.
No, you try to understand what is happening, and this is happening. This is happening. Try to understand what has happened over here.
So events.
The purification has not happened. The purification is not happened. Now, if I go from self-consciousness and I experience Turiya, and I come back into self-consciousness, then to play the game, his money is his money and my money is my money. Can you understand what I'm trying to? Why am I able to play this game? Because in this whole journey of self-consciousness, I have eradicated possessiveness. I don't know whether, can you get greed and possessiveness? Huh? What the 6 shatrus, what they call lobha, kama, what do you call krodha, moha, matsya and mada, right? So I have eradicated those. Then only I can rise above them. But here I have gone directly there, I have not eradicated them. Now what will happen? I will still experience his money is my money and my money is his money. Alright, bring your money, I will use it. Because when I come back to I cannot come back to this state, I come back to this state in my ordinary living. Can you understand what I am trying to say? And we see this happening everywhere. We see this happening everywhere. It's a very sick state of affairs.
So when they go to Turiya,
Huh.
the purification part
Has
does
not
not
happened.
just happen like that.
Cannot happen.
Oh, it will not.
It can only happen through tap, through burning. Tap means heat, right? But that heat which leads me from swapna into jagrati, that heat which burns the sanskars.
And the procedure is through attaining Gnan, right? And it's જાણીએ તમારા જેવું કોઈની પાસેથી સાંભળીએ અભ્યાસ કરીએ
અને
practice કરીએ પણ practice એટલે we have to go through tap only.
Through tap. Because if we go into that state, right, then it is a wrong crystallization will happen inside, right? And then when I come back to my normal living, I have not experienced this state. My normal living will be in which state? This state. Can you understand? Right? So I will use everything of that state to get more disciples, more cars, more whatever. Because all those 6 enemies are there.
How can you be in Turiya if you have those 6 enemies?
There are techniques to go directly to Turiya without.
The requirement to be in Turiya is you have conquered all those 6 steps. Like
No, this is not a requirement.
No?
There are yogic techniques which take you there directly.
Then what does he achieve by going in that state? Like then what does
You can also experience it through a drug.
Huh?
You can also experience it through a drug.
So euphoria and whatever you are saying.
So it's
those-
like you're
So when he's in that state, he's one with everything. But when he comes back to live his normal life, he cannot come into self-consciousness because he has not risen the steps of self-consciousness. He will come back to swapna, right? And that is a deadly state to be in. Very, very deadly state to be in.
So, but there is no like any governance or anything. Like what happens after that? Like seed remains, right?
Then
So how
it,
they have to pay some.
then they have to decrystallize that and they have to go back. And that is a long journey which takes many lifetimes. We don't want to go into that. What I'm trying to say, our journey is through self-consciousness, where we purify the lower and rise into the higher. Without purifying the lower, if we directly go into the higher, right, then this can happen. Now what your question was, right, I have seen this because there have been people who have experienced Turiya, like you said, and come back and done the whole journey of self-consciousness. Can you understand? I have seen that also in this life, right? There are people who have experienced Turiya and come back and then they realized that I have achieved Turiya, but nothing has changed. My jealousy is still there. My anger is still there. Everything is still there. So then they come back down and they practice observation of what is happening inside, right?
So, like getting into Turiya, if you say in the way of drug is like, it is addictive. So they keep wanting to go directly there rather than experiencing.
Exactly.
And
So if you go through a drug, but there are, say, I'll give you this thing. There's one, say, yogic technique called murcha. Right? Now, in deep sleep, the soul and the spirit are one. Right? So you're in the highest state of Turiya, in deep sleep. But there is no presence. There's no self-consciousness there. Now, in that, if the Guru takes you into that deep sleep by making you unconscious, and in that he makes you aware, suddenly you're in the 4th state of consciousness without going through, and there are techniques to do that. There are techniques to do that. Huh? He may have some intention behind it.
good, bad.
It depends on the Guru. But he may want his teaching to continue and he finds that he doesn't have a disciple who has experienced that. So he may arrange for him to experience that state. But then again that disciple will have to come back and go through this process of self-consciousness. So what you were saying, there has been an experience of the higher. It is possible, but that is not. Yeah?
Was that the reason Ramakrishna locked that thing from the Vivekananda until that?
He misused it. He misused it. Vivekananda misused it. Right?
So you get psychic powers in Turiya state?
Turiya is an all-comprehensive state,
Okay.
right? It becomes easy to, what do you call, work for and understand psychic powers over there, right? Even as you go in self-consciousness. Supposing you have, say, pattern of anger, right? Now, as you are purifying, the pattern of anger goes away. So, in that empty space, what will come? Siddhi will come. Can you understand? Siddhi will come. Now, as you go up this ladder, these siddhis are not harmful, especially if you are doing what you call rhythmic breathing and all that. They come in rhythm and balance, right? But if the siddhis come without your deserving the siddhis, then there's a problem. Can you understand? So you've not deserved it, you're not purified yourself, but you go there into Turiya, you may get some siddhis, right?
Ravana best example.
Huh?
Ravana best example.
Who?
Ravana.
Ravan, right? Ravan, you can say.
So, but if we take positive, doesn't it help us to say, for example, person who is in the second level, like Swapnavastha, they experience the Turiya, and then they go by the like way, then is it like this makes some difference, like make the journey
Yeah.
easier?
Yeah, if you experience Turiya and you come back, right, then many lifetimes journey you can compress into one lifetime. One
But
lifetime.
what is the experience of Turiya like? What does he do there?
Huh?
What does the person who goes into Turiya state, what is happening to him? Some mutations happens in the body or like
Yeah.
what is
The individual mind dissolves,
individual mind is also?
and what remains is the universal mind.
Okay.
Now try to understand this. Universal mind is in animals also, and there's universal mind in man when he achieves that state of Turiya. But both are different, right? So if one lion comes into heat, all lions come into heat. That is universal mind. There is no individual mind, right? But here he understands the laws of the universe, and without being free of greed, without being free of possessiveness, without being free of anger, can you see? He is now able to understand and use those laws. Right? Very famous example you can take is of Rasputin. Rasputin. The Russian Rasputin. 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 Not Putin. Not Putin. Rasputin. The Russian Revolution happened because he controlled the Tsarina completely.
There is an online question.
Huh?
Online question.
Yeah.
It says Turiya is the pure universal mind state.
Turiya is where there is universal mind, and at a higher state of Turiya, there is a universal observation of the universal mind. There is a divine observation of the universal mind. But in the initial stages of Turiya, it is universal mind. There is no individual mind left over there. Just as I am observing my thoughts, right? Then there is no I left. There is just the pure observation in the universal mind, throwing light everywhere. And then there is something which is even separate from the universal mind, and that is the divine consciousness, right? And then it is not like it is observing the universal mind. It is as if the universal mind is within me. That is called the Swayambhu of this thing. That is why we worship the Swayambhu Ling, Shivling, the Swayambhu Ling. It is the experience of that, this thing.
So just a small question. A person who has experienced himself, right? So they go to Turiya very fast, or they stay in a Turiya state, or they can go into Turiya state whenever they want to.
No, I'm not getting your question.
So we all are like us.
We are all practicing, right?
Practicing and trying to rise in self-consciousness, right? And the time will come
where you'll get glimpses of Turiya.
That's what
You will get glimpses of Turiya. You will get glimpses of Turiya. Right? See, in self-consciousness we rise. Turiya descends. Right? It descends to who is deserving. It descends to who is deserving. So in some moments we are deserving, it will descend. But That does not mean it only comes to those who are deserving. There are people who can rape and also go into it. Can you understand what I'm saying? I mean, they can force it, right? So then, right. So we'll end here. Any other question? No. What do we want to do from tomorrow? Should I continue in this, or would you like to take any other subject or whatever? We'll take. We'll start with self-observation tomorrow. Self-observation tomorrow, right? So, whatever you all say. So, what are the techniques of self-observation? How we can start in self-observation? Because that is the very basic thing, right? Of course, most basic is 3-step rhythmic breathing. 3-step rhythmic breathing, right? See, and please practice in the day whenever you get time. You don't have to find special time. If you're working on the computer, you can breathe with the music. There is no, what do you call this thing? You don't have to take extra time out for 3-step rhythmic breathing, right? So nowadays, most people spend 4 or 5 hours on the computer, right? So you can easily practice. Just keep the music on and practice with that. In a way, it is like a guarantee, because if you're doing even that much and you're not doing anything else, so something will work out for you. You understand? If you're not interested in doing anything else for your spiritual journey, but you're just breathing in rhythm with whatever work you're doing in the day, right? That itself will take you so well. The first time Turiya Sahib came to Madhavpur, after he finished everything, my cousin got up and said, and I'm a very lazy person, I can't do anything, but I'll practice 3-step rhythmic breathing. Will that be enough? So Turiya Sahib says, that is more than enough, it will take you across the, ocean. So, but he never practiced. He never practiced, right? And he spent his whole life, playing in the stock market, right? All he had to do was put on the music and breathe with the rhythm and play in the stock market. That's all. And Turiya had promised him. And sometimes these promises which come from that kind of source, there is a different kind of promise. I'll tell you, one of my father's friends, still living, he's 95. So, staunch follower of Krishnamurti. And J. Krishnamurti. And he says, how can I do these exercises? I get up in the morning and I sit in silence, and I can't do this rhythmic breathing and all that. So he's saying, Turiya said, get up a little early and do it. So he says, if I have to get up a little early means somebody will have to wake me up. Who will wake me up? So then Turiya said, I will wake you up. So next morning he's sleeping in his bedroom, and at 4 in the morning his grandson is waking him up. Right? Get up, get up, get up. And he gets up and he goes back to sleep. Then he gets up at 6 o'clock. Right? And he's saying, at 4 o'clock my grandson woke me up, but my room is locked from inside. How did he come inside? Right? The room is locked from inside. How did he come inside? Right? But he also didn't do it. Now he's doing it.
Is it because of fear of death?
Huh?
Is it because of the fear of death? 95?
No, we cannot. This thing, I'm sure he's very he's very mature as far as death is concerned. I'm very sure, because so many years of Krishnamurti and all that. Must be very mature.
So Turiya still comes to you between 6:45 and 7:15 if you have questions when you're practicing in the morning?
So I'll just change it a little. Light a ghee lamp, and in that, at that time, 6:45 to 7:15, and just visualize him once, If you can't visualize, just feel him once and close your eyes and sit for 5 minutes. Huh? And let it happen. It will happen. Right? Now, our thing is, you see, we always have a fixed sensual idea of something. Can you understand? Right? But it may happen in a different way. You're crossing the road and you're totally involved in your thoughts, and somebody like hits you and you're sure you come this way and the car goes this way. Can you understand? Right? So it's not going to happen the way we want it. Slowly, as our sensitivity grows, then we will be able to recognize how the communication is happening. But we have a fixed idea, he has to come and he has to talk to me, then it may not work out in that way. But it's a very good practice if you can do this in the morning. Just light a lamp, sit for 5 minutes and talk to him, whatever you feel like. And
You have
just
to take a bath for that?
No. He had this thing, the saying that for the son to go to the mother, she doesn't bother whether he has taken a bath or whether he is dirty or not. So don't worry about it.
What's the time again? 7 to 7:40.
6:45 to 7:15.
Why specific that time?
That is his promise. His sankalp.
So local, should be local.
Local.
So what he promised again? So that is the time that you should.
If you communicate, he'll communicate with you. Right? Okay. Thank you for coming. Right? Good night. And with God's grace, we meet tomorrow again.